Over the last 5 episodes, we set out to find lessons for a young Navajo woman coming of age.
My daughter, Dahi.
That's me.
Dahi, what do you think of all this so far?
I think they're inspiring.
With this last episode, I thought about Changing Woman and the story of the swan dance.
And that is the story. When she came of age, she then had to have the kinalta. And then afterwards, when she became old, then she would run to all 4 directions to become young again.
In that way, we end the series with the young Navajo women who are redefining what it means to be Navajo. They are the Nizhoni Girls, a rock band based in Albuquerque. They're shaking down the assimilated ways of doing things and holding on to what they still feel is important.
It sounds like they're not afraid to be themselves.
Exactly. And that's the lesson. Be true to yourself. This is Changing Woman. I'm Laurel Morales.
I'm Janita Benali.
And I'm Dahatia Benali.
I meet up with Becky Jones and her band, the Nizhoni Girls, in Albuquerque, in an old unventilated storage unit that's been converted into a practice space. Sweat already drips from Jones's forehead, a petite punk rocker with a mischievous smile.
It's how she sings Down the Moon.
Great song.
It's tradition.
They goof around like teenagers, so I'm curious how old they are.
We're all 30.
Wow.
So we're Nizhoni women.
You're not changing your band name, though.
Probably not.
Yeah. The Nizhoni Girls, which means beautiful girls in Navajo, is Becky Jones on guitar, Lisa Lorenzo on drums, and Liz McKenzie on bass. They call their sound desert surf. Women-empowered rock is not the norm, but that hasn't stopped them. The trio of sometimes pink, sometimes blue-haired feminist rebels rock hard all over Indian country and inspire new bands to find a way out. Music was about the only thing that made sense to Jones when she was growing up.
Christianity has been pretty heavy in my family. Catholicism specifically. But then we would still see a medicine man on the side, go to some ceremonies too, and it was kind of conflicting when I was younger because I was like, oh no, I'm going to go to hell if I go to this or.
Many Navajos like Becky straddle 2 worlds, the Navajo traditional world and the assimilated Western world. To complicate matters, she was also dealing with domestic violence and substance abuse at home. And she lived in Flagstaff, a reservation border town where people discriminated against her family.
I remember driving with my mom. This car jumped in front of us and my mom was trying to go, but he was go back to the res. And then my mom got angry and then she started to cry. So it was hard, my mom being single and trying to raise us.
Jones says at first she internalized the racism.
Just being Native in that town was kind of horrible and I didn't want to be Native. But then after my kinalta, that was definitely kind of a turning point for me and led me to recognize that I am Native.
It was the coming-of-age ceremony that was pivotal for Jones. She finally felt she could claim her Navajo identity as her own and be proud of it. It was around this time when she moved to the reservation to live with her aunt.
There weren't a lot of things to do, so I craved going to a live show, especially living at Window Rock and Fort Defiance.
But Jones says the punk scene was pretty toxic.
They had songs that were kind of dissing on women, and they would, hit on young girls, so they were kind of like predators. I didn't really recognize it or call it out because I was young back then, but now looking back on it, it's something that I definitely call out.
Today, Jones calls out all forms of predatory behavior and discrimination on social media, in her music, at demonstrations, even at Trader Joe's when a cashier called her a derogatory name last spring. She doesn't just donate to her favorite cause, she lives her activism every day. And that can be exhausting.
I'm a sexual health educator with Planned Parenthood. That's my job. HIV prevention. So I do a lot of work with reproductive health. And I'm in 4 bands. I am on a lot of coalitions.
She recently spoke at a rally with Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi and congressional candidate Deborah Haaland, who are calling on Congress to extend the Violence Against Women Act. She talked about growing up in Flagstaff, far from her Navajo family.
Not only did I feel isolated from my family, but I also felt disconnected from my identity as a Dene Adza, which is a Navajo woman. I felt disconnected from my culture as well. And looking back at growing up in a racist border town, I really wish there were more resources made for and by people that look like me.
Her coalition fights for both Indigenous women and LGBTQ folks who've been abused. Outside of her activism work, she vents about these issues in her music. That's Jones, eyes closed, sweating, screaming with her band Weed Rat. Becky says her family doesn't really understand her music.
Some of my family don't really support me, but my partner's family is really supportive. My grandma's supportive, except she doesn't like it when I cuss or when I scream.
Nizhoni Girls bass player Liz McKenzie can relate.
I've always been the black sheep. So, they're just like, oh, Liz is back from Standing Rock. I guess she's in a band now, like that kind of thing.
Mackenzie says after her mom died, she bounced from her grandparents in Gallup to her dad's house in Tucson. Both Mackenzie and Jones say they're products of boarding school.
My last name's Mackenzie because, my, one of my great-greats was, stripped away from his family and, given the name Mackenzie. My grandparents met when they were in kindergarten at Christian boarding school.
As we heard in previous episodes, there's hardly a Navajo who hasn't been affected by the federal government's attempt to assimilate thousands of Native Americans. Christianity was passed down 3 generations in Mackenzie's family.
It's hard, I don't want to talk poorly about what they were taught and what they still believe in, but then for me, it's something I completely reject. I went through 12 and a half years of private Christian school. Now as an adult, I don't believe in God. I'm not into Christianity, and for me, I believe in the people. Our whole belief system is rooted in kinship and taking care of one another. So that's what I'm trying to incorporate within my life.
The band just organized a women's festival on the Navajo Nation with this concept of kinship in mind. They also perform at schools on the reservation and give music workshops. At a recent school event, Becky Jones and Lisa Lorenzo say they realized they're the role models now.
They were dancing, they were air guitaring, and then after we were done playing, they came up to us and wanted to play our instruments. Just seeing that and seeing them seeing a Native band, perform in front of them and being women, I think that in itself is just, why we do this.
I always look back and I always kind of wish I had a band like ours when I was growing up, just to encourage you and show you that you can do it too.
Dahi, how do you feel about being a role model for your cousins and for Deji?
Do they sometimes copy you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I sometimes do the corn grinding, and then they'll just come over and take it.
And I think that goes back to realizing one's own power and one's own space that we carry in this world. I think when you realize that, then you realize, oh, other people are watching. And if other people are watching, then they might be learning something from me.
And like the Nizhoni Girls show us, it all comes back to being true to yourself. Maybe with the idea others are paying attention. This is Changing Woman. I'm Laurel Morales, and I was joined in the production of this podcast by
Janita Benali
And Dahi Benali.
To see pictures and video and to hear the rest of the podcast, go to our website, fronterastusk.org, or check it out on iTunes.